Doro Italian bar.
What?
I don't know what that is. It's fine.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure I can change that later. Hello, dear listeners. This is, let's say, episode 2 of Lionel's travel podcast. I am here with 2 dear friends of mine, Carly and Elisabeth. Would you guys like to give yourselves a brief introduction?
Sure. So I'm Carly, I am 26, I'm from London, and I'm here travelling for 3 months because I quit my job and I have a new one to go back to, but in the meantime I thought, why not explore the world?
Yeah. I am Elisabeth. I'm from Copenhagen, Denmark, 22 years old. I realized today that I'm turning 23 in 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I also quit my job just before coming here, and actually don't have one to go back to, so that's a bit exciting. So I have all the time in the world to travel as much as I want to, I think. So yeah, but I'm planning on being away for 3 months as well, back in June.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Cool. Well, from where Alex and Emmett had left off, I believe we were in Puno, in the hotel. So that was post Machu Picchu.
Yeah.
And then
Post Lake Titicaca.
Or before.
I think it was just afterwards.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so we're about to make our way to Bolivia.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exciting.
So you look a bit
Yeah,
confused.
I'm trying to remember that, but that was a long.
You remember we
long
had a
drive.
drink in the bar in the hotel?
Oh yeah, that's true.
And then we met the guys after
Yeah,
they'd been to
that's
record.
true.
Yeah.
And then it was the next day we went to La Paz
Yeah,
on the bus.
a long drive.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, where the bus driver was driving like crazy.
Absolute maniac.
That's
yeah.
all of them. That doesn't differ.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's normal here. So.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
But yeah, how did you guys find La Paz?
Next question.
Oh, whoa.
No. It's obviously a massive city.
Mm.
I was so surprised that only 3 million people live there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was
Such
huge.
a big city, right?
It looked huge.
But you can tell that like they've just the urban sprawl, they've just gone outwards rather than upwards because they can, because there's that much land.
Mm-hmm.
It was fine. I don't think there was much for us there.
Yeah.
But we made the best of it.
Yeah, I think so too. I had different expectations because I've heard different things about the city.
Mm.
First of all, that there was nothing to do, and that all you had to see was, or not see, but also all you could see was just dead llamas and witchers.
I mean,
And so on.
kind of true.
And yeah, that was true. But I think there was definitely also more to that, and it was a very big difference from what we'd seen otherwise, I think.
Yeah.
Much more lively.
I also think not having, like Wilma now having like a separate tour guide, we probably could have done more of like a cultural tour with someone who knew the city a bit better, because I feel like the places we went on our tour were quite touristy.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think as a group we've very much embraced like seeing the locals, seeing the community, finding out how people
Authentic.
live. And for me that's much more interesting than
Yeah.
going to see a market in a cable car type
Yeah.
of thing. So I'm not going to rule it out just yet, but I think if I go back I'd like to have maybe a guide who's from La Paz who can maybe
Show
talk
us
that.
the real
Exactly,
the real deal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because there was a lot that was left unexplored as well. Like we
Yeah.
only.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, and Carly and I, we've actually been talking a lot about the authentic of this trip. And I think at first it started after we have been in actually in the homestay on Lake Titicaca,
Where
our room was very authentic.
and it sure was. I think, I don't know if you saw our room, but it was wasn't like everyone else's rooms. It wasn't painted, and it was very authentic. No, it was
minimal.
It wasn't even just minimal. It was kind
natural.
of. It was kind of like almost like band-aided up. Do you know what I mean?
Oh,
Like there was big holes that and like newspaper
stone floors.
Yeah, and it was but it didn't really matter because our host family was so adorable and so lovely that actually that kindness that they showed us actually outweighed the. And you know me, I'm not one for bad conditions. So for me to say that like must have, you know.
Yeah, we just looked at each other, and the next morning we're like, okay, how can we describe this place?
Yeah.
And then authentic. It's not negative. It's not purely positive. It's just real.
It's real.
But that was nice, and I feel like La Paz was kind of the same. But yeah, also just very, very different from what we've seen otherwise, and the people there also different.
Yeah. I think going from Peru, which is like really safe.
Yeah.
Country, to Bolivia, where we were basically told don't go down that street. You know, this is the limit of where you're probably allowed to walk, especially at night. That was quite, you know, considering we've just driven a few hours. That was quite a shock for me.
Yeah, and I definitely also feel like when we were walking around in the beginning, I felt everyone looked at me. And it was very clear that my hair is blonde. Because that was not what you could see otherwise. So I also ended up like putting my hoodie up to cover up, and then I felt more safe.
But really it was just a base to explore the rest of Bolivia, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
And wow, the salt flats were just...
Yeah, I was just about to say
everything
from there.
Actually, the whole of Bolivia just took me so much by surprise. Like the beauty and actually the different landscapes. Like within one day, we saw lagoons and desert and mountains and volcanoes and greenery and
it's so impressive.
And, actually. Yeah, and no one told me about that actually going to Bolivia. People say, oh, the salt flats, you know, but no one actually said the rest of Bolivia is actually gorgeous.
Yeah.
So I feel very privileged to have seen that, and actually going on those jeeps was brilliant, because that was such a great... If we'd been doing that by coach, it would have been a completely different experience if we'd just kind of driven straight to the salt flats rather than being able to stop and plug on music in and have a sing song. I will look back on that kind of journey very fondly, I think.
Yeah, and that's the thing about having low expectations, right?
Yeah.
Can only get better than... and I definitely also think that I had... After Bolivia, I had very, very low expectations also because of... And after the salt flats, I didn't kind of realize what we were going to do. And then being there and just driving... and between mountains and volcanoes. Was just amazing as well. And then ending up in Chile lastly, with a stop in the hot springs.
We're going to talk too much about that. The stars were great. The hot springs were great.
The rest is not worth mentioning.
Did you not find the same? Did you find that where we stayed in the desert with the hot springs? How did you find that?
It
wasn't even authentic.
True.
If it could just have been that.
I'd say it was probably the worst.
Well, yes, by a mile. Yeah. But did you still find it difficult?
Just to
be there, or were you kind of embracing it?
Yeah, I'm pretty chill about it. So
yeah.
It was me, Dan, and Dom, And I think the biggest struggle wasn't the room itself, it was Tom just keeping me away.
Fair enough, you have bigger fish to fry.
It kind of distracted me from the
Yeah.
surroundings as well, because, at that point, he had slept maybe a combined 2 hours in the past 3 nights.
Right.
Oh,
And he hadn't adjusted to the altitude. So he was like hyperventilating while snoring, while fighting some demon in his dreams.
awful.
And
Oh, did
I-
he have sleep paralysis?
it felt like it. And then
Yeah.
like eventually, I think he mentioned that, so after I, plugged in earplugs, I fell asleep. And then maybe soon after that, he woke up because he couldn't breathe properly. And then he just like walked around.
Right.
Yeah.
In the room. He didn't go out of the room.
Well, not outside of the room, so he
Oh,
let
okay.
himself out, and then he was just kind of traversing the little.
That's rough.
Yeah.
I actually also found that night kind of not funny, but
Mm.
Carly and I have been sharing a room for almost the whole trip for
Yeah.
now 3 weeks, a
Mm.
month. Is it?
Yeah, a month,
And that night, Michelle also shared the room with us, and we kind of have the same ways to sleep, I think, or at least go to sleep at the same time.
Yeah.
We wake up as late as possible,
Mm.
just to get ready to have a quick breakfast and then go down. We take the same time in order to get ready, and then having a new person there, and she just got up much earlier than us. Just
Yeah. I
took
kind of
her
said,
time,
we'll get up
relaxed.
at 6:40 then. Yeah, Michelle was like, no. I was like,
Which was
what
maybe
do you
20
think?
minutes
Yeah,
before,
6:40 is fine.
And waking up in the middle of the night as well and doing things. That was just different. I'll say.
It's alright. Emma's just here to sign the card for our
Thank you.
tour leader. Yeah, we're gonna have a farewell dinner tonight because she leaves tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
And we have the steak place booked
Yeah.
thanks to Karina.
Yeah,
So-
that was incredible. I read the article that you sent, and it's just crazy how we can have a table now.
I know,
tomorrow.
right? For that many people.
Oh, for the steakhouse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez.
But I also saw that you should expect, at least, even though you have a reservation, you should expect waiting at least an hour to get the table.
Yeah.
And then 20 minutes to order, and then it takes time. But I mean, that's just part of the experience.
It's like the best steak restaurant in Argentina or something, so.
And
In
last
South
year
America.
it was the world.
Was
The
it?
world.
Yeah. Yeah.
Guys.
Even better.
I love Karina. I love her. Do you know what I love? Obviously, we still recording.
Yeah.
I love Karina because she like gets it.
Yeah,
Mm.
she does.
She just understands like what, and maybe it's because she's got a daughter like who's 20, but she
Right.
just understands what we would want to do. And
Yeah.
she never says no.
No.
She always says, okay, how can we do it?
Yeah, she really puts herself into our
Yeah.
place.
Mm.
Whereas I feel like I loved Wilmer and he was great for different reasons, but he didn't connect with us in that same way and think what would we want to do. And when he kind of said no, we kind of knew, okay, he knows what he's talking about, so we'll leave it at that. But I don't think Karina's literally ever said no to us, so.
She'll always try.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, you can really feel like she's trying her best to make our experience the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
as
keep
well.
thinking like, oh, is that too much to ask them? And then remembering what Wilmer and Karina have said, like I'm here 20, like my job is 24/7 when I'm with
Yeah.
you.
Mm-hmm.
That's tough. Like not being able to switch off and say, okay, this is not my problem for 2 hours or something. Like,
Yeah, but being available
yeah,
the whole
that's
time.
tough.
Yeah.
But she's
Especially
obviously-
because we have so many questions and we don't know anything.
Yeah, definitely. Where were we up to then? Salt Flats.
So then San Pedro
San
de
Pedro.
Yeah.
Atacapo.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I didn't look.
Crossing the border to Chile
Mm.
to go there.
Oh.
Yeah.
Was
We all
Everton,
had fun.
right?
So, yeah. God.
Yeah.
picked us up in the car.
Oh yeah, that was stressful.
Very stressful.
Very
That was
unnecessary.
so unnecessary. And then all the stuff at border control as well. Like all of us.
The guards.
Well, not all of us, but most of us got stopped for some reason or another.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was it only the two of you actually?
And I think Emmett had something.
Oh,
wrong
yeah,
with
that's
his form or
That's true.
something.
Mm.
Yeah, not
Oh,
great.
well.
But anyway.
Yeah.
I didn't expect San Pedro to just be like in the
Tourist.
sticks for tourists.
Mm.
No.
Very little local presence around.
Mm-hmm.
It was
Yeah,
fine.
I would have
just
loved to
felt
see
like we
the
were
more
there.
local part of it as well.
I feel like we were there for maybe a day too long.
Yeah, agreed. Especially because if you compare it to the activity level we had before and after,
Yeah.
it was not because we had to load or like get more energy or sleep or anything like that.
Yeah.
Because we hadn't done any physical hard things.
It was the heat. You remember you knew
Oh,
that
yeah.
you were the only one who knew the word for the cells who could live in extreme conditions.
Oh, extremophiles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And someone, I can't remember who it was, just completely ignored you when you said extremophiles and then carried on talking. Do you remember that?
It's okay.
I remember thinking to myself when we were in San Pedro, like,
Yeah.
us as a group, we are not extremophiles.
Mm.
Like, we would, like, the heat was way too much. The altitude was too much for us. Like, we are very much comfortophiles.
Comfortophiles.
Sea level.
Sea level files.
Sea level people.
I did enjoy our bike ride though.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that was the best part of the San Pedro
Mm.
experience as well.
Yeah.
And also very random, actually. Because I think, or at least I had other expectations to what I would have wanted to do in that city beforehand, or at least on my list that I made of extra activities. That was not included there. But then when she mentioned it as a possibility to go bike riding somewhere, I looked it up and found the Devil's Throat.
Devil's Throat. Yeah.
And luckily convinced some of you guys to go with me. So even though that it was very warm, and the roads were not proper roads
Oh
at
man,
all,
yeah. So
and that we
after.
could feel the bike ride still after 3 days. I think it was totally worth it as well, because I don't think you're able to have the same kind of experience actually anywhere else, especially with we didn't see that many people at all. We were almost alone for the whole ride, and just having that in your horizon is just incredible as well. And it would have been another experience if we were biking next to other people as well, I would say. And also when we were then at the end of the throat and hiked up that small hill mountain, and that we ended up being the only ones up there and had it all to ourselves. It was also just incredible. And then that the bike ride felt like half of the distance on the way back was just nice.
It's a nice touch.
As well.
Just letting gravity do the work.
Exactly. Yeah. What else did we do that day?
So
There was the desert party.
Yeah.
That was Saturday, right?
Yeah.
Isn't
I think
it?
so.
Yeah.
I had definitely imagined something different than what it was. I imagined that we would drive out of the city, first of all, and that it would be under open sky.
Yeah.
A DJ there, and then just a lot of people standing together in the middle of nowhere, and that you could see the stars, just dance to the music, have fun, and that was just not what it was.
And those local people.
And local
Locals.
people.
Yeah. Not full of people that you could speak to back home.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that was why my night was fun, was because I actually think there were seven Danes, talked to 6 of them. Also, just did not expect that at all. But when we first arrived there, one thing was that most of them were guys, and they were all very tall. And I thought there might be some Scandinavians, and they also looked like that. So when Michelle and I was on the dance floor, I tried to listen, like hear out. Can I hear some Danish or Swedish maybe, or Norwegian? And then all of a sudden the guy in front of me said, Denmark, like the most yeah, literally like Denmark. And then I just said, hi, I can hear you from Denmark. And we actually talked about that in the beginning, that all Danes, when they meet each other, everyone tends to say, oh, you're also from Denmark. Like, are you also from Denmark? Like, no shit, you're from Denmark. When you say like that. Yeah, and then they were just, at a very young and a very...
Not that much younger than you.
Yeah, but the mindset.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it is about mindset. So even though it's, 4 years, they're definitely a different place than I am now. It was a very young guy mentality they had, and was the goal of their trip as well. I would say. Yeah, it sounded like. So, but it was fun for the night, and everything is an experience, and what you make it to.
And actually, without them, you probably would have been really bored.
Exactly.
Like me.
Because they call it a desert party, but I think even both terms to describe it weren't accurate. Like, firstly, can you even call it the desert? Because it was in someone's backyard.
Yeah.
And then...
a plastic roof and curtains and... Yeah, no.
Like, party as well, I think, is also kind of subjective, because some people were not partying.
Yeah.
And it's also the drinks. Like, they'd already pretty much ran out of everything except Pisco by the time we arrived.
Yeah.
And then, the music's not to everyone's taste. So.
Yeah. It reminded me of, like, there's a few places in London where you can go, actually, like, more than a few places, and it's exactly that same type of thing. You all stand in a room, and there's a DJ at the front, and it's the same type of music. So when I got there, I was like, okay, this could be fun.
Yeah.
But then there was no other element to it, really, unless you were taking drugs.
Yeah.
It was that or nothing.
Yeah.
And I couldn't just go home.
That was the worst thing.
Yeah.
We were supposed to get picked up by 3:30. There were two rounds, 3:30 or 5:30.
3:30 or 5:30,
Yeah. And we were, at least half of us, wanting to go home by 3:30.
Yeah.
And we were all ready by 3, if not before, to go home. And said, okay, now it's only half an hour. We can do that. Yeah. And I think it's important to say that Karina was there as well. Karina's friend was there as well.
Jaime,
26-year-old Jaime.
Is that how old he was?
Yeah, he was 26. I asked.
What is she doing being friends with a 26-year-old?
I don't know. I actually think I found out yesterday how old she is. She got her daughter when she was 20.
Oh, so she's 40.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. And then it was turned 3:30. The taxi or bus was not there, and no one knew why. And she couldn't get him or in contact with him.
He said he was on his way. You know that? He
did?
texted and said, I'm on my way, and then literally never showed up.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought he was just falling asleep or something like that.
Well, he probably did. But we thought something might have happened to him because he said he was on his way. But then he replied the next day, so it was fine. But
Oh my god.
Yeah,
okay, well, ended up no one coming.
Yeah.
And it was 4:30.
Yeah.
And then it was around 5 o'clock.
By the time we got home, it was,
Yeah. That another bus came
Yeah.
to pick us up, and that we ended up having a lot of the other people from the party in there as well.
Only because you said, I feel so bad making them all like wait for another bus outside.
Oh yeah.
And I said, well, tell them then.
Yeah.
And then we were like the morning and we were both like, we regret our decisions. So, like, be nice people.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we all just wanted to go home in quiet, peaceful way.
Yeah.
And then they just continued over to party in there.
But the girl who was the funny one, she was on our tour.
Oh yeah.
Because I did the Valley of the Moon tour with Dan and Emma.
Yeah.
She was like so quiet, so well behaved, like on the tour. She was like chatting to us, you know. She was like chatting to Dan a little bit, and so when we saw that side of her, we were like, whoa. It's funny though.
Yeah.
But I think like if we had committed to the night and said, right, we're gonna get really drunk, we're gonna stay out late, you know, we're gonna have fun, we'd had that mindset,
But
it would have been
think
fine.
we had that at some point of the night?
Yeah, but I think it was the running out of drinks.
Yeah,
'Cause
that's
you,
true.
you can't drink lots of pisco and be okay.
Yeah.
Like, and I wasn't drinking at all actually, so I didn't have a single thing to drink. And then, when the group kind of got split between like who was doing drugs and who wasn't,
Yeah, that's true.
that I think the rest of us who weren't doing drugs, we just kind of went, ugh.
Yeah, now we just want to go home.
Yeah. Now
Or
it's
even
time.
more.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, the only thing I hate worse than doing drugs is being around people who are doing drugs. But I'm not.
Yeah. Yeah, and then the next day was just... Yeah, a lot of people had hangovers.
Mm-hmm.
Can I ask you a
Just
question?
stressful.
Can I ask you a deep question?
Yeah.
Do you feel like you've got from this trip what you set out to achieve?
Yes.
Oh.
Actually, and we've talked a lot about it, but I think before I left for this trip, I was doubting about a lot of things, and that I just really wanted to meet new people, for the people they are, and not from their surroundings, and I think that reflects what I also wanted myself, in terms of that I wanted other people to see me for who I am, and not because of my surroundings or the circumstances or context, like jobs, background, where you're from, family, friends, all that.
Yeah.
But just like pure heart, I would say maybe. And I definitely feel like I've achieved that, or met people for who they are. And I also feel like that people have met me for who I am, and then having the feeling of that is all right, and like people like me, or at least I've gotten you as friends. Just feels like a huge achievement, and that there's no reason for me to doubt in that sense. Yeah, and that's just a really nice feeling that I'm gonna bring home as well. But I definitely feel like that the quarry trail was where that really, where that was expressed, because we were all in a very vulnerable place, I would say. It was physically hard, mentally hard as well, in terms of all the breathing, actually. And then keep like the mindset of like, okay, I have to keep going, because I cannot turn around and go back. And then the conversations you would have on that trek was just pure at some point, because we acknowledged each other very well, I think, and said, okay, I can see he's having a difficult time. How can I support in that way? Or say out loud, I'm having difficulties breathing right now. Can someone do a breathing exercise with me? Those kinds of things. And that when we had completed it, everything just felt much better. And I would do it again. And then again, back to what I was saying previously, was just that, I felt like we saw each other for who we are. And it just showed us how strong bond that we also have to each other already by then. But I also think that was because of the trek, and because we saw each other in that kind of situation.
Yeah.
So, what about you?
Just to follow on from what you said there, I don't think we would have bonded so well if we'd been in cities for the first few days.
No,
I
yeah,
think being in the
definitely
Amazon
agree.
and then being like straight from the Amazon more or less to
Yeah.
the quarry trail.
Mm.
If we'd done, say, Cusco and Buenos
Perhaps,
first
yeah,
and everything,
yeah.
and then done it would have been a completely different bond, I think, between us all. So.
Mm.
I didn't really. No, that's a lie. I did have things that I wanted to achieve. I'm not sure if I've quite done them, but it has made me realise other things. On a similar vein to you, like me being me is okay, and people accept that. I think where I live, people are so much more judgmental and closed-minded
Exactly.
than the people I've met on this trip. So it's not entirely the same. However, like, you'd be surprised how many people go years without knowing that I like Justin Bieber.
Wow.
Because it's not like information. Sometimes it's not information that is entirely well received back home.
Really?
Really.
Why?
But I also, like, I don't hide it. I guess I just kind of refrain from talking about that side to myself because, I don't know, for fear of embarrassment or whatever. So it's things like that where it's kind of made me realise, like, actually who I am without having to hide it or refrain from talking about any part of myself. Like, you know, people talk about finding themselves. I'm not quite sure I'm at that point yet, but, you know, there are certain things I've learned about myself on this trip where I've been my very authentic self, for better or for worse. And that has, you know, made me accept it as well in a way that I would never have the opportunity to do so back home. One of the things for me was to kind of try and learn to go with the flow a little bit more, because I struggle with that back home when things don't go to plan. And a couple of years ago I really, really struggled with it, and I was kind of highly strung all the time for fear that things weren't going to go right. And, you know, I worked on myself. That's a lot more manageable now, but I think this trip, I don't think I've quite learned to let go of those things, but I've realised what is important for me and what's not important for me. So the things that I do care about and I want to go right, I'm allowed to feel like I want those things to go right. And then there's probably other things that are less important, and now I know what they are. And, you know, just seeing like the people on the Reed Islands with nothing and realising, okay, actually what is important to go right and what's not important, you know.
Yeah, in order to be happy as well.
To be happy, but for me also to like worry about, you know, does it matter if, like, you know, something is a little bit late or I'm a little bit late. You know, in the past I would have probably had a panic attack had I been late, you know, 15-20 minutes late or something, but now, like, can I get over that? I probably can, you know. So there's that element to it. And then the other part of it was just letting go of what was like a job that I thought I was going to love, that didn't work out that way, and that ended up making me a little bit miserable towards the end. And the kind of realisation that long term, what I thought was going to be a long term job, was not going to work out, and having to start again. And in my industry, people don't perceive moves very well, and people don't move very often. So to do it, and especially to move to what is essentially a competitor, is you know, I was so worried about. But all I've done this trip is let go of that and kind of brought in hope for the future, because I know I'm going somewhere different. I know I'm going to different people and a different sized company and all the rest of it, and I have definitely let go of all of that now. So, and there has been days when I haven't even thought about my old job for more than a day, which is like a really big achievement
best
for me.
feeling.
And then you get to like 2 or 3 days in, and you think, oh my gosh, I haven't thought about that job in such a long time. It feels like a really big achievement. So
Yeah, I think that's also a big topic maybe of this trip, is literally being able to forget everything back home.
Yeah.
and focusing on the present and what we're experiencing. At least that's also what I've been trying to do, is just being present and take in everything from where we are. And I definitely feel like that's what's going on or happening, at least. And when you're doing that, you forget everything, both in terms of what you're worrying about, what your friends are doing or family or anything, but also in the world kind of thing, forgetting wars and political conflicts and all that. I haven't had one thought, almost, about it. And then you also just kind of reflect how much that actually, how big of a part that is in your everyday life back home.
It's also incredibly difficult to work on yourself.
Exactly.
When you've got those distractions around you, and they're not distractions that you can ignore when it's your everyday life. I understand that, but having the escapism to come here and just work on the things that we need to work on and let go of the things that we need to let go of, it's actually quite spiritual.
Yeah, it is.
A way to detach.
Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah. But we have to go back to our lives, and you don't. For a while, so you've got loads of time to detach me. I've got to go back in
9 months more. In terms of getting ready fast, I think we have 5 minutes to.
Cool. We can wrap up.
Yeah,
that's all good. Well, thank you so much, guys, for doing this with me. And any final words
I feel incredibly grateful to have experienced the things that we have experienced together with safety, friendship, gratitude around us, luck on our side, great weather, friends for life.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's I wouldn't do it with anyone else.
Very sweet.
But thank you very much for making us do this.
Not forcing us against our
will.
Encouraging us.
But thank you.
No problem. Alright, until next time, guys.